Welcome back to You Be the Judge. Our guest today, Jeff Dahlander from Susquehanna County, who's running for state representative in probably one of the most unique districts in the Commonwealth. He has one county that he would be representing that is one of the most heavily drilled counties in the state, a county that has lots of problems with water contamination in a number of communities, Lenox and Dimmock and others, and a county that has a moratorium in Wayne County. A lifelong resident of Susquehanna County, with the exception of some periods that he was working at universities around the country, but somebody that was born here and came back here. Jeff, when we left, you talked about your visit to Sandy Major. Mm-hmm. You studied the issue of fracking now and have some deep concerns, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, all the information that's out there, whether it be through news organizations, scientists, I think a great resource is Huffington Post Green. You actually have to find it. It's not something that you'll see in an everyday paper. The Times Leader actually has a great, almost weekly look at the impact of drilling in the area. So there's a lot of resources out there.
Laura Laguerre from the Times is doing a terrific job.
Absolutely. Josh Fox, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to meet with him. He directed Gasland.
Which incidentally, the gas industry hate.
Absolutely.
They don't believe there's anything accurate in that movie. Everyone who could light their faucets in that movie could have lit them before drilling began. And there's a question that is always raised, and that's the fact that there was methane in the water here before they came to drill. But I've met family after family after family who've pre-drilled and had no methane in their water. Then the gas drilling began, the methane shows up.
Well, I mean, it's common sense. There's going to be methane in the rock. It's going to be beneath the soil. But if you crack through it and introduce it into the water, it's going to show up, at the tap. So the fact that they say that methane has always been there, that is absolutely true. Methane is always going to be there. It's a product of decomposition. But when you introduce it into the well water, it's going to show up at the tap, and that's the problem.
I am just in the process of reading a terrific book, Collateral Damage, which is written about the problems that they faced on the western slope of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. And ladies and gentlemen, if you read this book, you almost feel like we're seeing the earliest phases of what went on out there. They started drilling and fracking in Colorado maybe 10 years before we did. What has happened to the people out there with cancers and with animals dying and with contamination of their farms and with secrecy agreements and being bought off when a family finally gets to court is frightening. But we're in for that here in Pennsylvania. And I'd recommend anybody who wants to know about what are some of the dangers of fracking to read Collateral Damage. And this is what we can look forward to. And we've lived it already. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've lived it in the coal fields here. Mayor Connors is a friend of yours, and he talked about how long we paid for the sins of coal mining.
And we're still paying for it because there was never a severance tax put in place, and there's not a severance tax planned right now. It appears as though, that's what Governor Corbett ran on, is that he was not going to have a severance tax. Now, who that benefits, I don't know. Does it benefit the oil and gas industry or the citizens of Pennsylvania? I would say it benefits the oil and gas industry, so I think that's the side that he's on. And I think that the representative in my area sides with him on every issue, so I think we can assume that she's on that side as well. I think that as we move forward in 2012, we need to put the severance tax on the table and seriously consider it, push it through.
Well, as a former school director, and over the last year I had a number of representatives of public education on the show, the superintendent of schools here in Scranton and the president of the board, a candidate for school board in the Abingtons, and they all universally said the same thing, that we're robbing our Commonwealth with this most recent budget by not properly funding education. And it just seems to me that what we're doing is we're taking textbooks out of the hands of kids to give tax breaks to Texas and Oklahoma corporations. And Jeff, I know you know this as well as I do because you live in Susquehanna County, but the fellows who work on those rigs are not Pennsylvanians.
They are not
We're not
Pennsylvanians.
seeing the benefit of the great job boom that was supposed to come. Make no mistake about it, there's a lot of businesses in Susquehanna County, in Bradford County, and in Tioga and Sullivan County that are benefiting, car dealerships, hotels and motels and restaurants and bars. They all benefit by the huge industrial expansion. But there's an equal number of people who are being hurt. And it's really kind of sad.
And at some point, that's going to end. And what are we going to be left with? That's my question.
You know, you and I talked a little while ago about the impact on the sportsmen of oil and gas drilling. Let's talk a little bit about that. Your dad's a fisherman.
Yes, he is.
How do you see this industry impacting our trout streams?
Well, you know, what goes into the stream becomes a part of the trout. What is eaten, so we take that into our system. It becomes a part of the soil. It impacts not only the fish in the stream, but the animals that eat out of the stream, the plants that take water out of that stream. So then we see it moving on to, smaller game animals. We see it moving on to larger game animals such as deer. So when we look at people that thrive on or enjoy the hunting and utilize hunting as a means of feeding their families, what goes into that stream, whatever it may be, because it's so secretive, ends up being on our table at some point.
The same is true with the vegetables we eat. Mm-hmm. What's happening to the groundwater that is showering our tomatoes and our fruits and our apple trees, the air that sends up the volatile organic compounds come back down in a rainstorm. Mm-hmm. It's frightening, and nowhere near is being done to research the impacts on human life as a result of this. And it's probably going to be too late for a lot of people when the research finally comes forward. Please stay tuned to You Be the Judge while we talk about what's in store for the people of Wayne County as the Delaware River Basin Commission decides what the right rules are concerning fracking. Hi, I'm Todd O'Malley from the law offices of O'Malley and Langen. If I say the word tragedy, what do you think? Hurricanes, flooding, devastation on a huge scale. I'll bet not one of you thought work injury. And that's a problem in our society. Just because something happens one person at a time doesn't make it any less significant. Over 3.5 million people are injured or killed on the job every year, each an individual tragedy. If you've been hurt at work, your job, your family, your health, even your future could be at risk. Call O'Malley and Langen. You'll find there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll review your case, find that glimmer of hope, and fight back. If you're facing crippling medical bills, or they're forcing you back to work too soon, call O'Malley and Langen 24/7. Nights and weekends, one of our lawyers will answer the phone. Call 1-800-817-COMP. That's 1-800-817-2667.